Some songs are just songs. 3 minutes of chords and words. You hear them, you might like them, you move on. And some songs are something else. They're a snapshot of a moment, a turning point, a marker in time that you can't ever go back to. For one young man, a specific song became that and more. It became a ghost that followed him for the rest of his life. He came to believe it was cursed, not in the spooky, haunted house kind of way, but in a deeper, more personal way. He believed it was the song that sealed his fate. It was the sound of a door closing behind him, a door he could never open again. The story starts in a small studio in Memphis. The year is 1955. The room is simple, not much to look at. But the sound that comes out of it is changing the world. The man in charge, Sam Phillips, isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for a feeling, he's looking for something real, something raw. And this kid, he has found that this young truck driver with slicked back hair and nervous energy is the realest thing he has ever heard. The kid has been recording for a little while now. He's had some local hits. He's building a name for himself, but he's still just a kid from Memphis. He sings with a hunger that you can't fake. It's the sound of someone who wants out, who wants more, who feels something deep in his bones that he has to let out or he'll explode. On a hot July day, they decided to record a new song. It was a cover, a blues number, originally done by another artist from Memphis, a man named Junior Parker. Parker's version was slow, moody, and swampy. It was a classic piece of rhythm and blues. It had a dark, heavy feel to it. It was about loss. A train takes a man's baby away, and he knows she's gone for good. But when the kid and his band started playing it, something different happened. They couldn't play it slow and heavy. It wasn't in their nature. The bass player, Bill, started slapping his bass in a frantic rhythm. The guitar player, Scotty, laid down a riff that chugged along like a locomotive, picking up speed. And the kid, he didn't sing it with a sense of resignation, he sang it with kind of desperate energy. His voice echoed in that little room, thanks to Sam Phillips' clever use of tape delay. It sounded haunted. It sounded otherworldly. The lyrics were simple but powerful. A long black train, 16 coaches long. It took his baby and now she's gone. And the singer is left standing there watching it disappear down the track. The final line hits like a punch. She's never coming back. He repeats it. He moans it. Never no more. It's a song about an ending. A definitive, absolute end. They recorded it fast. They didn't overthink it. It was pure lightning in a bottle. The sound they created was something new. It wasn't blues, it wasn't country. It was something in between, something wild and untamed. It was the sound of rock and roll being born. When you listen to it today, you can still feel the heat in that room. You can hear the ambition. You can hear the ghost of the future in the echo on his voice. This song became the B-side to his last single for Sun Records. His very last one. Think about that. This song, this ghost story set to a frantic beat, was his farewell to the place where it all began. It was the last time he would be just a Memphis kid making music for the love of it, because a much bigger train was coming for him. Sam Phillips knew the kid was too big for Sun Records. He couldn't compete with the major labels. He needed money to keep his studio afloat and find the next star. So he made a decision that would change music history. He sold the kid's contract to a huge corporation, RCA Records. The price was unheard of for a new artist. It was a fortune. And with that sale, the kid was gone. The train in the song wasn't just a metaphor anymore, it was real. A big, powerful corporate machine had come and taken him away from his home, away from the simplicity of Sun's studio. He was on his way to a place of unimaginable fame and fortune. And just like the baby in the song, that simple, hungry kid from Memphis was never, ever coming back. This is where the idea of the curse begins to take shape. For the rest of his life, he was chasing something. Maybe he was chasing the feeling he had in that little room in Memphis, that raw, unfiltered energy. But he could never quite get it back. At RCA, the recordings became more polished. Producers were brought in, orchestras were added, the sound got bigger, but some people would say it lost its soul. He became a movie star, an icon, a product. He was no longer just a singer. He was a global phenomenon, but fame is a lonely business. He was surrounded by people, but he was isolated. He lived in a bubble. The world he knew, the world of small-town life and simple pleasures, was gone forever. He had everything a man could want. Money, adoration, houses, cars. But he had lost something essential. He had lost his freedom. He was trapped on that long, black train, and it was going faster and faster, and he didn't know how to get off. He would sometimes talk about that last Sun session. He would remember the feeling of it. Well, it was the end of his innocence. That song was the soundtrack to his departure. He watched his own life change as if he were standing on the platform, watching the train pull away. He was both the man left behind and the person on the train. He was split in two. And then there's the other side of the story of the man who wrote the song first. Junior Parker. He was a brilliant musician, a key figure in the Memphis blues scene. He had a successful career, but nothing like the global superstardom of the kid who covered his song. His life was harder. He struggled. And he died young, at the age of 39, from a brain tumor. It was a tragic end for a man with so much talent. You can imagine how this might have weighed on the famous singer's mind. The man who gave him this haunting song, this song that marked the beginning of his own legendary journey, had met such a sad, premature end. It's easy to see how a superstitious person could start to connect the dots. The song was about a final departure, and for its original creator, it proved to be true in the most tragic way. It was another layer to the curse. The song seemed to carry a shadow with it. The curse wasn't just about him either. It was about the whole world that song represented. The world of Sun Records. Sam Phillips became a legend, but he never again found an artist with that same earth-shattering power. He discovered many great musicians, but there was only one king. The sale of the contract made him rich, but it also marked the end of the most magical chapter of his life. The train had taken his greatest discovery away from him too. Scotty Moore and Bill Black, the guitarist and bassist who helped create that sound, they went on the journey for a while. But their relationship with the star became complicated. The money, the fame, it changed things. They were essential to his early sound, but as he became a bigger and bigger star, they became sidemen. They were never again part of that same tight, explosive unit they had been at Sun. The family had been broken up. The train had separated them as well. As the years went on, the singer's life became more and more surreal. He lived in a mansion that was a tourist attraction. He performed in a rhinestone jumpsuit in Las Vegas, a caricature of his younger self. The raw, dangerous energy of his youth had been replaced by a polished, professional spectacle. He was still a magnificent performer, but the danger was gone. He was safe. He was packaged. He was predictable. He often seemed sad. Those who knew him well spoke of a deep melancholy that he could never shake. He missed his mother, who had died just as his fame was exploding. He missed the simplicity of his old life. He was the most famous man in the world, but he was profoundly lonely. He was a prisoner of his own legend. And he would sometimes hear that old song, that raw, echo-laden recording from 1955. And it must have sounded like a message from a different person, a different lifetime. The frantic bass. And that young, hungry voice singing about a train carrying someone away forever. He came to see it as a prophecy, a warning he had been too young and too ambitious to understand. He believed the song was about him. He was the one on the train, being carried further and further away from everything he loved. And he was also the one left on the platform, mourning the person he used to be. The song wasn't a curse in the sense that it brought him bad luck. It brought him more luck, more fame, more money than anyone could ever dream of. The curse was that it was all true. The song had predicted his entire life. It had laid out the blueprint for his glorious and tragic journey. The curse was the price of the ticket. And to get on that train to superstardom, he had to leave his old self behind, and he could never ever go back. The line "Ever No More" wasn't just about a lost lover. It was about his lost youth, his lost anonymity, his lost freedom. It was the saddest line in any song he ever sang, because he lived it every single day. When he listened to that record, he didn't just hear a hit song, he heard the ghost of the boy he was. He heard the sound of the deal being made. He heard the wheels of the train that was carrying him to his destiny. A destiny that was both a dream come true and a terrible nightmare. It was the sound of his own beautiful, tragic, and inescapable fate. It was the moment he stopped being a man and started being a myth. And being a myth is a heavy burden for any mortal soul to carry. In his final years, the train was clearly running out of track. He was unwell both physically and emotionally. The pressures of being a living legend had taken their toll. He was isolated and medicated, a shadow of the vibrant young man who had set the world on fire. The journey that had started with such explosive energy back in that little Memphis studio was coming to a slow, sad halt. On August 16th, 1977, the train reached its final station. He died at his home in Memphis, the city where it all began. He was only 42 years old. The whole world mourned. The kid who had sung about a train taking his baby away was now gone himself, taken on a final journey from which there would be no return. The legend of the song, and his belief in its curse, lived on. It became part of his story. Like people who were in his inner circle would tell the tale, they'd say that he felt the song was a bad omen, a piece of dark magic that had defined his path. He felt it was his beginning and his end, all wrapped up in 2 minutes and 30 seconds of raw rockabilly power. Was it really cursed? Probably not. It was just a song, a brilliant song, a pivotal song, but just a collection of notes and words. But for the man who sang it, it became a powerful symbol. It was the dividing line in his life. Before that song, he was a boy with a dream. After that song, he was a king in a golden cage. It's no wonder he looked back on it with a mix of pride and dread. It was the sound of him selling his soul, not to the devil, but to the world. And the world never gave it back. The song is a masterpiece. It's often cited by critics and musicians as one of the most important recordings of the 20th century. It's a perfect slice of musical history, but if you listen closely, you can hear more than that. You can hear the echo of a life about to be lived. You can hear the rumble of a train just starting a long, incredible, and heartbreaking journey. You can hear the promise and the warning all in the same breath. You can hear the sound of a ghost story coming true. And the name of that song was Mystery Train.